I'll call to order the Fitchburg Board of Public Works meeting for Monday, February 15th. We see no one here. Is anyone called in, Scott?
No, sir, they have not.
Okay. Then we're going to move to agenda item number 2. Before we get going, attending the meeting tonight, myself, Kim Lobdell, Michael Granetsky, Sarah Schroeder, and City Engineer Bill Balke. And Scott Yarborough running the show for us here. Okay. So thank you all for attending tonight. Next, we have approval of minutes from the December 7th. Is that right? Am I looking at the right agenda here?
Yeah, we didn't do those, but we don't even have them, right, Bill? Because Bill didn't get them because Dina was gone, so we have
Okay.
to defer both the December 7th and the last ones.
Okay, so we will move past approval of minutes till the next meeting here, beginning of March. We will have 3 meetings worth to approve, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So you make a note. My little brain can't keep track, Bill. Thank you. Okay, I was out of order. We have no public appearances for non-agenda items. So that would bring us to item number 4, a report from the City Engineer, Director of Public Works, Mr. Bill Balke.
Good evening. Just wanted to let you all know that we're still busy as usual in the Public Works Department, engineering. We've been busy with the plant value that we've been, working on over the past few months. We've been real busy with development reviews that are coming in with different developments that are in the area. We're gearing up for some new construction that's going to be starting up in April. So it's just been busy on all fronts. So we've been out there plowing our snow, and we'd appreciate it if everybody could, take a few minutes or a couple of hours to go out there and start clearing out around fire hydrants out there. We do have a need for that. We're out there doing as many as we can, but we can't get to them all. And by the time we go through all of them in the city, we have to start all over again. So it's pretty much a full-time job just doing fire hydrants. By the time we get done, they're already plowed full again from the other end of the city. So just a public notice to everybody, if you can please get out there and spend a few hours to get out there and shovel those hydrants that are on the corners near your property. It would be very much appreciated. Your neighbors would appreciate it, and going forward with that.
I just add, there was a fire in my neighborhood not far from my home where they believe, the not having access to the fire hydrant delayed putting the fire out, and it's an ugly sight looking at that home. So again, I echo what Bill said. Do we have any questions for Bill? Or Bill, were you done?
Yep, I'm
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions for Bill? I have one, Bill. Any water main breaks in this cold weather?
You had to say that.
I was going to say, now you did the jinx.
No, we haven't had any weather-related breaks so far this year.
Wonderful. Music to my ears. Okay. We have is it Thursday night? There's a hearing or a public meeting on the Lacey Road improvements. Is that correct? Is it Thursday night, the 18th?
That's correct. It's coming up on Thursday night, or is it Wednesday night?
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, okay.
Wednesday night, sorry.
What time is that at? Is it
Yeah.
5:30?
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, I told you he was running the meeting. All right.
Yes.
Bill, on that one, special thanks for the neighbors out in Quarry Vista. We're kind of one of the newer neighborhoods out there that would be directly impacted by Lacey Road out there. So notices were put on our doors. Neighbors were excited to get that notification.
Great. So yeah, there's a link on that notification as to how you can sign up for the meeting to attend virtually. We'll have the chambers open, for up to 10 people to come in, I guess 9 if Scott's there. So, if they want to come in and have the same presentation, or they can just attend virtually at home, that would be fine.
Bill, does the link have the proposed plan, the proposed road cross-section or anything on there?
I believe the notice had on there the city website link that shows where all the documents are right now that show what the proposed improvements will be.
Thank you. So again, this affects, quite a few residents, Quarry Hill, a lot of people use that road. So if you're watching, it might be worth your time to listen in on, provide your feedback on Wednesday night. All right, anything else here? Then we're gonna move on to agenda item number 5, nomination of Transportation and Transit Commission member. And Michael, do we want to ask to wait till March for this? I kind of lost track here a little bit.
Yeah, let me, I'll be nominating myself here in a couple of weeks. I just need to double check a little bit of other schedules, but should be able to take on that responsibility.
So I would like to move this to our next, table this for now and move this to our next meeting, if that's all right with everyone here. Okay, I see heads nodding.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, we'll get into our agenda items now. Item number 6, Agenda A, Resolution R 215-20, a resolution accepting subdivision improvements in phases G in the plat of Terra Vesa. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Lobdell, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Schroeder, okay. Discussion, Bill, are you able to look at this and even tell if it's ready here in this weather? I'm kind of curious what your process is to know it's all ready here.
Well, we went out. This subdivision has been an ongoing plat for a couple of years now, and we've been approving different phases throughout the plat to give approval on those and accept those to allow the subdivision or the builders to start building their lots or houses on the lots. Phase G is the last phase of the subdivision plat that was completed that we're looking to get approval of. And we have a big punch list of things that still need to get completed in the spring, but they've taken care of the life safety hazards and all of the financial requirements that we require for allowing the acceptance of this phase of subdivision. So once approved tonight, and the council approves on Tuesday next week, we will give the go-ahead for the release of the improvements out there, or we'll accept the improvements and allow buildings to be built in that phase.
Does this allow occupancy on these or just the start of buildings?
No, it would be the occupancy of that. Many of the homes that are out there right now are just waiting for meters to be installed. So with that, they'll be able to get occupancy on those homes.
And is this contingent on them completing everything on the punch list?
Yes, we have a couple of letters. We have a letter that was required from the developer to get things done before they're allowed to pave the first addition improvements. So they have to get all of the stuff done before May when they want to start paving.
So you're satisfied it's going to take place? We're not going to get stuck with anything here?
Right.
All right. Any other questions for Bill? Michael or Sarah? Call the vote. Well, before I do that, approximately how many units are in the Phase G? Bill, do you know?
There's, I think there's 2 8-plexes, possibly. I'm not sure. I think it was around 20 units going in
Okay.
out there.
All right, that's for people watching. Thank you. All right, then we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-215-20 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, 6B, Resolution R-48-21, a resolution releasing a public utility easement in Outlot 16 in Terra Vesta. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution R-48-21?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Gronetsky, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lobdell. Discussion. Bill, what has changed? Was this basically final engineering of the subdivision, that this was not needed anymore?
No, the city is considering a new site plan that would look at re-subdividing this area into 5 different lots.
I heard you say Siri, you're considering.
Anyway, that will consider subdividing this area into 5 different lots. And when this is done, the alley is in the middle of the proposed development. So we need to release the easement that we have on this alley on lot 16, because we won't be needing it for public improvements. And as part of the replat, it won't be needed.
Okay. Questions for Bill on this?
For the breakout of the new lots, is that something that goes through plan, or is that something that can just kind of reconfigure the lots? Or, I apologize, I'm not sure how that works.
The Plan Commission is considering tomorrow a replat of the subdivision, of this part of the subdivision. So it's simultaneously going through Board of Public Works and Plan Commission.
Thank you.
And is this something that's paved and needs to be torn up at the city's expense, or is this just kind of like a gravel road that's gonna get redone anyway?
There's nothing present for infrastructure right now. We just have the curb openings or the driveway aprons available.
Oh, okay.
Straightforward. Any other questions for Bill? And we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-48-21 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Resolution R-44-21, annual purchase of bulk fuel. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution R-44-21?
I'll move to approve resolution R-44-21.
Moved by Schroeder, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Gronetsky. Discussion. Bill, did we have this same thing last year? I know you weren't director at that time.
Yes, as part of our purchasing policy, any goods and services purchased through the city has to be approved by the city council. That's over $25,000. So anytime we've got contracts such as this one for fuel for $145,000, we have to get pre-approved and a purchase order issued for the services.
Okay. What's your view single sourcing this? It looks like.
This is a vendor that we've been working with for a number of years. We use this vendor specifically because they've got smaller trucks that haul fuel, and they will dispense for our smaller tanks that we have on site. So we have difficulty getting a larger tanker truck to deliver to our site, and this is one of the vendors that we've been working with. We are looking at, we didn't get a chance to do it this year, but we'll be looking at other vendors next year to see if we can get more vendors to come in. The fuel costs are pretty fixed. It's just the service to deliver that we're negotiating with.
I have a question on the information that was presented. It looked like the $145,000 came from 2020 fuel costs on the pre-approval. Where you had the 2021 numbers, it didn't come out to that 145, either that or I was confused with how I was looking at the spreadsheet that you had put out there. It didn't make sense to me. It looked like it was the 2020 when I added the 93 and the 52 or whatever, that came out to exactly to $145,000, which is the number in the resolution, but it was 2020. So it seems like that would have been in the past. Did anybody else get confused, or am I just in over my head?
No, I was looking at the same thing too. It looked like, I was looking at that as well. Page 17 of the packet has 2021 budget for fuel, and then the header row kind of has budget 2020. So I wasn't sure if there's a typo somewhere along the lines or what we're looking at.
It should have been 2021.
The pre-approval, the two numbers there should have been 2021 rather than 2020 on that page 18?
Yes.
I would like that, I would like the document corrected, at least the date on there. Can I have someone want to move to amend that document to change the date to 2021?
And I guess I hadn't noticed the headers, but now that you pointed those out, Kim, I guess I'm still confused because I would think that they would still match then, right? Where,
The top part of the sheet and the bottom part of the sheet? Yeah, I
Yeah.
was sort of confused too. It didn't look like they did, because it looked like the prices on the top were a lot higher than $145,000.
that's what I'm seeing, yeah, that I,
So I guess I didn't understand it, so.
Give me 1 minute here.
Okay.
I don't have the, my computer isn't showing me the newest agenda here. Give me a sec to come into the city site here quick. That's where I went this afternoon. Bear with me.
Yeah, I think the question, Bill, is if the page 17, if the budget for fuel is 216, 565.
Yeah, off to the side of that, a couple lines up from the 216, you see that $78,000 was moved to WEX.
Okay.
The police department is using the Wisconsin, whatever it's called, the fuel system there. So we removed that budget from there. It should have been, 95 minus 78,000 for fuel for the police department.
Oh, maybe that's what makes up the difference then.
So explain that again, Bill. I was just getting the page up here.
Yeah, the total budget was 216,565.
Yep,
Yeah.
We included the police department's full fuel in the budget. But what actually we did is we removed $78,000 of that to the Wisconsin credit card or whatever it's called. There's a fuel credit card that the police department uses to go fuel up at any station. And so that would bring that down to roughly $18,000 for the fire department or police department.
And so the resolution for like in that number that you take the 216, 565, knock out the 78, that's below the 145. we're approving tonight. So the 145, is that to just kind of, is that what's on the purchase order? And if we use all that, great. If we don't use all that, great.
Yeah, if we don't use it, it gets rolled over into the following year's budget.
Did we have any money left over from last year's budget? You would have had like maybe $800,
Yeah, I'd have to check on that.
$700, something like that.
Because it looks like when you add up all the 2020 payments for fuel, whatever, I'm assuming that those are 2020 payments, and that's where we added the 92 and the 53 to get to 145. But what you're saying now is for the budget for 2021, if we take this 216, 565 minus the 78, we're at like 138, 565. So did you round up to 145? Because that's what we spent last year? Or is it, where was it incorrect where you said it should have said 2021 instead of 2020? Because the payments for fuel on the heading of that, I mean, it seems like that has to be 2020 because obviously you wouldn't know what you paid in, you know, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December at this.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
no, I think what we ended up doing is, I think we ended up rounding up for that, just to keep the same budget from last year to this year for fuel in our estimate.
And since the 138 is less than the 145, you just went with that?
Right.
It would just seem weird because I was sure that was the 2020 thing and then the other numbers didn't match, so.
Mhm.
Kim, where are you getting the, so I had the 216 and I took the 78 out and I came with 143, 565. And then I was assuming, you know, that we were rounding up to 145. Where are you coming up with the 138?
Well, if I take 216, 565 minus 78,000, the 216 looks like it was what the estimate was. And that one should say budget 2021. That's
Oh,
instead of budget
I'm sorry,
2020.
Kim. I wrote it
Total
down right.
there, and then I took minus the 78 out of there, which I wasn't sure if that 95 included, already had the 78 out, or if the 78 came out of that, which is why I was thinking maybe the number was still supposed to be 216, 565.
No,
Like I said, I just had some questions.
I'm with,
No,
I didn't know
we're,
if the 78 was out or not, but then it said 2020, and I see that one. But the payments, you know, last year, it looked like it ended up going to 145, 144, 296, and it was approved for 145. So yeah, there was like $704 or something left. So I just wasn't sure where the 145 was coming up for the resolution that we have in front of us.
I got you, Kim, I'm sorry. I'm a little slow here.
Bill, yeah, if that's the case, and you know the kind of anticipated is based on, you know, next year's rates, if that's going to be around like 138, and if it's rounding up to kind of keep last year's budget, that seems very reasonable.
right. Yeah, I think one of the other things too that we were trying to account for was, you know, the national new policies for what impacts would be on gas, because gas prices will probably go up. So we wanted to have a little bit of extra in there, even though we might not need it, but it's just there for contingency.
I believe that's prudent.
And if this goes over budget, then council approves more funding for it and all that other good stuff, correct?
Yep, or I find it from some other budget used to keep the garbage trucks going and keep them going. So.
All right, so then just to verify, that 78 was not taken out of the 95. It was not 95 plus 78, and you already took it out. 95 is what the total budget is, and then you're saying you're taking 78 out of that because of the WEX thing.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so then you're at 138 and some odd change, so 145 is reasonable because it does allow yourself a little bit of a contingency.
Yep. I think that the sheet, 17 is interesting, and we see what different departments are using, that the police is uses the most fuel of any department in the city, which, I'm not saying good or bad or different, it's just the observation. I didn't anticipate that, so. All right, any other questions? Okay, then I'll call a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 44-21 for the 2021 annual purchase of bulk fuel, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next, resolution, we're on 6D, 6 Delta, Resolution R-0921. Am I in the right one? Solid waste budget amendment to allow spending of CDRR deposit funds postponed from February 9th, 2021 meeting. Can we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Make a motion to approve resolution R921.
Moved by Schroeder. Do we have a second?
I'll second it for the sake of discussion.
Okay, all right. Discussion. So at the last meeting, for a recap, we said we weren't really in favor of using this for additional pamphlet or whatever, and we asked, go back to RCC. Did they take it up again, Bill?
Yes, they did. And Claudia is going to give a brief presentation on the summary of their discussion and some ideas on going forward from here.
Okay. Welcome, Claudia.
Hello. So I was asked to come in and give some clarifying information about the resolution and why RCC thought what we were asking for was important. And also just to give some clarification on what the money can be spent on. Just to review, and I apologize, I have a little bit of information to go through here. As kind of discussed, discussed in the referral sheet, there are 3 ways that we're allowed to spend the deposit funds. So one is actually providing a refund of the deposit to the folks who originally provided the deposit to us. We found that people in general were not coming to get their deposit back from the city. We think that's probably because the deposit was a pretty small number. And also you needed to fill out a form saying exactly how your materials had been recycled. And then you had to come to City Hall Monday through Friday during business hours in order to get your deposit back. And I think that amount of effort combined with the fact that it was only $50 or $100 meant that very few people were coming back to actually retrieve their deposits. And that's why we got rid of the program because we decided it didn't seem like it was having the intended effect because only 5 to 6% of people were coming back to reclaim their deposits and go through that loophole for that amount of money.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Sure.
At any point was like a notification given out to those people who had permits and had paid deposits to let them know that they had a refund that they should be collecting?
So I know that it was made clear on the initial form that it was a deposit and the instructions were provided on how to get that back. I'm not sure, that was before my time. I'm not sure if there was ever any effort to send out a direct mailing or call them or anything like that.
Okay, but we would know the city would know who these people are.
We would, yes. And that was another reason why we decided to get rid of the program because it was in addition to it not being effective, it was also a lot of overhead to keep track of those deposits. But we would have that information. And my understanding is we would still have to follow the ordinance that was in place at the time that these deposits were collected. So even though it's been repealed, folks would still need to go through and fill in the correct paperwork in order to get their deposit back, which probably at this point is not possible. I'm not sure that they would have documentation on where they sent their material, several years later.
I think you're right, yeah.
So that was option one. Option two was spending it on the cost to administer the program. So that would be staff time to administer the program. And my understanding is that we just never had Dina or the other staff working on the overhead break out their time in such a way that we could use this towards staff time. So that option is kind of not an option we can pursue either. So at RCC, we were really looking at this third option, which is cost of programs whose purpose is diverting construction and demolition debris from landfills. And I think there was confusion at the last meeting on what this, how this is defined. So I did pull up the ordinance definition of what construction and demolition debris means. So just to read through this real quick, construction and demolition debris means materials resulting from the construction, remodeling, repair, and demolition of utilities, structures, buildings, and roads, including but not limited to the following: bricks, concrete, and other masonry materials, soils, rocks, wood, including painted, treated, and coated wood and wood products, wall coverings, plaster, drywall, aluminum and vinyl siding, plumbing fixtures, non-asbestos insulation, roofing shingles and other roof coverings, reclaimed asphalt pavement, glass, plastics, electrical wiring and piping, or metals incidental to any of those materials, blocks, broken concrete, plaster, wire, and wood laths, timbers, and other wood building products and other similar non-petroscale materials. Sorry, I'm not sure what that word is. This term does not include materials that are contaminated by lead, asbestos, or other hazardous materials in such a way as to render recycling illegal or impossible, or materials which the city engineer from time to time may indicate are no longer able to be readily reused or recycled in an economically viable manner. So that's the definition of construction and demolition debris. So that's kind of what we were hoping our programs would be helping divert from the landfill. Just to give a little bit more background, Dane County has actually created a construction and demolition reuse and recycling facility. So a lot of people just bring their material there and then they separate it out and recycle it in the appropriate way. We did spend, we put on our thinking hat caps and tried to come up with programs that would really meet the spirit of that. One was to send out the recycling guide, which there were several reasons why they felt that was really important, which I guess I'll go through here. I guess first is it hasn't been sent out in over 6 years to residents. I think this is something that the city sent out periodically in the past, and it hasn't been sent out in at least 6 years at this point. They also did feel that some people probably wouldn't use a hard copy pamphlet, but there still are quite a few people who do prefer having a paper document that they can refer to. So the hope was that people would take this recycling guide and put it in a drawer and refer to it from time to time. I do know that is something that at least some residents do, because I have gotten requests to print this and bring this to people who do just that. They keep it in a drawer and they refer to it. So I think if nothing else, it would make people aware that the document exists, and then, maybe they would keep the paper copy, or maybe they would refer to it online. But that was one reason why we felt it was important. Another reason is, of course, that it will provide information not just on construction material, but other material as well, which is helpful. And it also helps our recycling stream stay less contaminated. So one thing that I wanted to just bring up briefly is that our contract with Pelletieri does have a limit to 10% contaminants in the recycling stream for recyclables that are collected at the curb. 10% is just an industry standard of what's considered acceptable. And so if we go above that number, then we would be liable for paying additional fees associated with that. So that might include sorting fees and disposal costs, because they would have to take that to a landfill then. So it does help us from a CDRR perspective, and then it also helps us in terms of helping to try to ensure that our recycling stream stays clean and uncontaminated. So one thing that I did, sorry, question?
Do we, side note, do we know what our contamination rate is now?
So we haven't done a Fitchburg specific, the way that would be determined for the purposes of our contract would be a Fitchburg specific sort. And they would take material that comes from trucks, specifically picking that up from Fitchburg and go through it. And that would be by weight. And I'm not sure when the last time that was done, but certainly not in my time with the city. And Bill, I don't know if it was done in your time either. It might have been done.
I think it was done in 2015 or 16, or maybe when the composting trial was going on.
Okay.
All right, Bill.
So it's been a while. My understanding just from Dane County, overall Dane County numbers, is that it's between 18 and 19%. So I'm not sure that that's Fitchburg's number. You know, we wouldn't know without doing a Fitchburg specific sort, but that is higher than what our contract allows. So we would definitely want to work on getting the word out.
So if our contract allows that and we're not measuring it, how does Pelletieri know if we're voiding our contract or if we're exceeding our contract? I mean, if they don't require us to count it or to do the sort and that, they're never going to know if we're over or if we aren't.
So they would be the ones to schedule and organize having that sort completed. Okay. So that's not something I'm necessarily bringing up and asking them to do. Yeah. But, you know, at some point in our contract, in the next 5 years, that would be expected to happen, that they would do that sort. And then it would just be based on that.
Okay.
So, so the guide portion of this, and stop me if you're getting to this, is to cover general recycling, or is it specific to construction and demolition recycling?
So what I did here is I actually have something available, which I'll share my screen. What I did is I took a copy of the PDF of the recycling guide, and I've highlighted the portions that are associated with construction material, just so you can see kind of the amount of this guide that's relevant to this program. So some of this is just generic. And so for example, appliances, I've just highlighted in yellow what's relevant. Asphalt pavement, asphalt shingles, cabinets, carpeting, carpet padding, cement, ceramic tile, concrete, construction and demolition debris specifically called out, dimensional lumber, drywall, fill material, glass, windows and doors, pallets, porcelain, rocks, shingles, sinks, tile, toilets, windows, wood, just some generic information here. Appliances discussed again here, and then construction and demolition debris, and then a couple forms here on what can go specifically into your recycling cart. So I'd say it's probably around 25% of the guide is related to the construction and demolition debris. And we felt that by sending this out, we would be reducing the amount of construction material getting to the landfill. And that's, I guess, the justification behind this fitting into that category.
How would we measure success on that?
I guess I can't think of a way to measure success on that.
And I think that was probably at least my part of this was, so we're going to go ahead and take something that seemed to be very specific to construction demolition debris, generalize it to a mailing to assuming all Fitchburg residents for the general recycling. So it seemed like there was a stretch there. And then the second part was, okay, so we send out a piece of paper. Let's assume that the handful of, even if it's higher than a handful of people that actually want a printed copy are going to keep it where they can reference that at any given point in time, versus the people that would just immediately recycle that or throw it away, whatever it happens to be. Was that the biggest bang for the buck? And then the final thing would be for those people that did reference this every so often, what would be the expected value? Would this be anything that's measurable, or is it just mail it out and we've done our job? Whether we've actually increased the amount of recyclables because we've given people, 2 or 3 pieces of paper to recycle, or whether it's, something that actually has tangible metrics behind what we could or could not do, or what we would be doing.
And I'm a numbers person too, so I really like having metrics. I think this would be really hard to measure the success. I guess I did want to point out that a lot of the things listed in here are not items that you can just put into your cart. So they probably are items that people don't know how to recycle. I'd say most people don't know how to recycle things that they just can't put in their recycling bin. So I think it would increase the amount of things being recycled or reused or donated. From a CDRR perspective, I think a lot of people don't even realize, if you're doing drywall or if you're doing anything that uses wood or anything like that, a lot of people don't know you can recycle that because you can't put it in your bin in your cart.
Would you see a correlation between those people who are doing this sort of recycling and, say, the people that are getting building permits? So if there was education that goes along with it, link it specifically to those people who are getting building permits as opposed to general citizens in Fitchburg?
So probably if we wanted to target builders, the way to do that would be through a mailing specific to the builders, not necessarily to the homeowners, because a lot of times you get a contractor to do all of that for you, and they'll manage the waste for you.
Correct.
And I guess part of the problem with that is we didn't feel it would be very effective to necessarily go to builders just because they're already recycling it, because 95% of them are bringing their materials to the construction and demolition landfill that Dane County now has. And that facility wasn't available when this ordinance was first written.
And I guess I was thinking more of the do-it-yourselfers who are finishing off a basement, or they're replacing their carpeting, and they rip out the old carpeting and chuck it out in the garage until it's like, uh-oh, what to do with it? And then it's either taken care of responsibly or it's not taken care of responsibly. And those are, carpeting may be a bad example because you don't need a permit, but if you're going to be finishing off a basement, you probably should have a permit pulled. And, at that point in time, it's like, okay, when you're pulling your permit, here is the guide on how to get rid of all of your construction material.
And I think that's something that we can pursue. I think there probably wouldn't really be a cost associated with having a brochure that would be handed out as part of the building permit. And actually, I think we already have one. I don't want to say that 100%, but I think we do have one. So yeah, I guess I agree that's important. I don't know that that's a way to spend this funding.
And then just my last question on the public information part is with the recycling guide, obviously the city has different resources such as our recycling center for cardboard, metal, that sort of thing. Is that sort of service that we offer also geared towards helping reduce the overall, I would say, construction and demolition debris, whether it be the metal component or the cardboard thing that a new appliance comes in, any sort of container?
So that actually came up at RCC as well. Can we use this money for the new cardboard containers? I guess my interpretation would be no. I think that's a little bit of a, we don't have numbers on this necessarily, but I would say most of the cardboard that goes there is from people purchasing things online, and not necessarily from they got a refrigerator or a washing machine or something like that. I do know in talking to Valerie about how to interpret this, she did say that she would be okay spending the money on something as long as, in the opinion of the city engineer, it was a program that meets this definition. So Bill, not to put you on the spot, but what do you feel about cardboard for this?
And I would also toss in metal in there as well.
Yeah, I didn't feel that cardboard met the definition of construction demolition debris. So I didn't think that, funding dumpsters, extra dumpsters would meet that criteria.
I know the metal dumpster, we actually don't pay for that dumpster. That gets picked up for free, just because the material is, I guess, valuable enough that someone's willing to take that and transport that and empty it for free for us. So there's not much of a cost savings associated with, with paying someone to pick that up because it's already free.
All right, other questions? I'll give you the take in the perfect world where Dave Herbst is king. I would take the money and I use it to clean up the garbage that's laying in the multi-units down the street from our house every week, constantly. But I'm not the king, so.
And I did try to ask Valerie, is there any way around, spending this money specifically on what the ordinance said at the time that the deposits were collected? And she said no, that we do have to spend it on these items here. Sorry, and just one more thing, because I did also want to touch on the other thing that we were requesting money for. We were requesting money for the recycling guide, and then the second thing was the Clean Sweep program. I did want to give an update that we have found a way to offer that to city residents at no charge. Basically, the Madison Area Stormwater Partnership was just luckily also planning to do this type of event. And so we volunteered to be the folks who are hosting that event. So it will be brought to the city at no cost to Fitchburg residents. So we can retract that piece of the request.
So the $12,000 you don't need anymore for that. So now we're talking about a total of still $26,000. That is it all going to go into the recycling guide, or what are you going to do with the other 12 then if you don't need it?
So I think it would just stay undesignated, and then would at some point in the future would have to decide what we want to spend that on, and then go through this process again to get that funding available.
I want it done now.
You print the or you don't print it. You prepare the recycling guide every year, but you just haven't mailed it out in 5 or 6 years. Is that what you're saying?
Right, it's updated every year and it's made available on our website, but it
Right.
hasn't been mailed out.
Okay.
I think probably most of us are in agreement that even though it's on the website, it hasn't been out in 5 or 6 years, that it probably prudent to get it out again. Would I see heads nodding or saying Herbst is crazy talk again?
I'm gonna go ahead and say crazy talk again.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I haven't touched a paper, a piece of paper, willingly in about 10 years, except to throw it away.
Okay.
My gut tells me, just again, kind of going back to what I was thinking on this, if this isn't a high, we have to get rid of this now sort of thing, and much like the $12,000, if that's going to table, I would just much rather just kind of sit on this for right now and see if something comes up over the course of this year, knowing that we've got something, and just not really touch it. I don't think a mailing, this is just me personally, I don't think a mailing out to everybody for general recycling purposes is going to have that big of an effect. I think, these people are, I shouldn't say these people, I think most people are maybe going to look at it and be like, okay, cool. And then they're going to, chuck it. If they have any questions about whether a 5 or a 2 or a 1 is a recyclable plastic, the city's got great resources. If they actually care enough to look at that, they're going to go find it. Having a piece of paper that's at the bottom of a drawer may or may not help. Those are just my things on the public information and education. I'd love to see if there was a way that we could either take a current service that we have, and expand upon it. If this is something, general information and education, if we looked at if we collected information on how we issued building permits over the last year, use this money to do a little bit of a research or a little bit of a research project to see how we could help contractors or do-it-yourselfers better remove better remove contaminants or debris from the recycling bins and the trash bins. Great, I think that would be an excellent use. An actionable survey where we could get some actionable results and find out behaviors of people that are currently doing this work based upon the people that we know are doing the work here in the city of Fitchburg. Like, that would be an outstanding thing. But again, just the general one-time mailer, I don't know what benefit, unless we are expecting a fairly big benefit, is a good use of the funds.
I guess from my perspective, I do agree with you, Michael, where the idea of a mailer, I have a hard time with. Just, it seems to go against kind of our philosophy of reducing, that we're just creating more goods that could potentially just end up in the landfill, which that feels against kind of our main initiative. And I know as well that the thought process of targeting those individuals who prefer the paper copy, I did see that the recycling guide was advertised within the Fitchburg Star. So I think an initiative has already been put forth to target those individuals who would prefer the paper copy. So then that also just, I have a hard time with, I guess, spending the funds on a mailer that seems counterproductive to the idea of reducing, since other initiatives have been put forth to target those individuals who desire the paper copy.
Michael and Sarah, thank you for those comments. I have a question or a thought on this. When I look at, I don't believe there's a need for the paper copy to go out to the majority of the single family or duplex homeowners. As I see their bins out there, I think those people are doing a good job of recycling. What, like a large apartment complex, do you have any sense? Do they have anything set up for recycling? And my thought is, well, we want to reduce waste. If it might be coming from there because they're not recycling, maybe we could have use grants, for some of these large complexes to incorporate that. Does anyone know? I live next to a very large, New Fountains is a very large complex that I live next to. Does anyone have a sense if they have any recycling for their residents?
So Newfoundland specifically, they just got recycling within the last month. We received a complaint that they didn't have recycling available, and so we worked with them to get recycling containers delivered. So that's a new development for them. I'm not sure how long they were without recycling containers. But yeah, I have to agree. I think multifamily homes in particular, at least from what I've seen and what I've heard, might not be doing as good of a job with recycling as single family homes. I would agree that sending a mailing there would be beneficial, but I'm on the other end. I think sending it to everyone would be beneficial as well, but probably particularly to them.
Yeah, I got a mixed feeling, I see the misuse of the bins and many of the multifamily, and, well, would they read it anyway? I'd like to think the best of people that they would. But
And again, it's a little bit different because this is supposed to be for construction debris rather than the regular homeowner, ordering from Amazon and having the cardboard box or paper and stuff in their house. That's, it's two different things really that we're talking about here. Just encouraging people to recycle is really not related to the money that is limited to these three things, of which basically two are non-existent anymore because the program doesn't exist and the staff didn't, never kept track of their time, so you couldn't, use it in that way. I guess I'm along with Michael thinking, maybe we're better off not doing anything with it now and seeing if something comes up where it would be a good use of the spend of that funds, but not just spending them just for the sake of getting rid of the money.
And I guess one thing that I'll add is this ordinance was repealed in 2019, and RCC kind of has been sitting on this for over a year and talked about it at multiple meetings. And this is what the recommendation is at this point. So we could sit on it and think about it for another year. I'm not sure that another better idea is going to come up.
So where does this go after this? Does this have to go to council for final approval? Because are RCC and both Board of Public Works making recommendations and council will say yes or no? Or does RCC have the final say that this is where we're going to spend the money?
Council would make the decision. So it would go to finance and then it would go to council.
Okay. I think we understand what the situation is, and I think most of us are in agreement that we do not think it's a good idea to send out a mailer to everybody in Fitchburg. I guess I agree with Sarah. I think it's counterintuitive because I'd say 95% of the people are just going to throw it away. I don't know if, do you print so many copies and have them available at City Hall in case somebody comes in and asks for a paper copy? Instead of doing a whole mailer and that kind of thing, if you could whittle away at that over 5 years, if you print, 1,000 copies and put them on the counter, and if people want a printed copy, they could have one rather than sending it out to everybody. But at this point in time, I guess I just don't see the value to putting it and mailing it out to everybody. I think it's just going to cause more waste, and it isn't going to help any of the construction debris get recycled more.
All right, I think I'll cut off debate on this now. We'll call a vote. All in favor of resolution R-09-21 signify by saying aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. Motion fails. Okay. Next, Claudia, thank you. Appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you. Bye.
Next, 6E, Resolution R-51-21, quitclaim deed releasing former right-of-way along former Verona frontage road. Do we have a Motion to approve resolution R-51-21.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Granetsky, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by
I'll second.
Lobdell. Looks like the little corner spot, Bill, as the road makes the turn by Certco, is that, it was intended for something else that never came to fruition? Is that the summation of it? You're on mute.
You're muted.
He's trying to
Pretty
test, see if we can
Yes,
read lips.
It's excess right of way that can be vacated to the adjacent property owner. So we're executing a quitclaim deed to the property owner for this land.
Was it intended for something? As I was looking at the document, I'm just trying to see, there was something about, the blue, let's see.
They were granting us a water easement
Okay,
in return for that land, and that has all happened. It just seems like it was sort of an oversight that the mayor and the city agreed to it, but the paperwork never got processed. Is that a true statement, Bill?
Yeah, that's correct.
okay.
And they've already given us the water easement, is that correct? Or the easement for the water main?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Seems pretty straightforward. Call the vote. All in favor of resolution R-51-21, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next announcements, our next Board of Public Works meeting is Monday, March 1st. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay. If you're not able to attend, let me know. Any other announcements? Okay. Then call for adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Granetsky. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Lobdell. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.